The next part of the assembly is to put the carburetor studs in. Now these carburetor studs are just put in finger tight to begin with before the base plate gasket and carburetor goes down. Gaskets, make sure your surface is clean, and they are just going to sit right over the studs. Alright, that's perfect. Now before you get too far with your installation, don't forget to put your thermostat in. It's the only item that the kit doesn't come with, so make sure you pick up a thermostat before you go any further, and make sure you pick up the proper thermostat for your motor. In this situation, we're going to put a high performance thermostat in with a 180-degree thermostat setting.
Fits snug right in the groove provided for it. Ready for the gasket.
Barry Grant suggests applying a thin bead of silicone to both sides of your gasket before installing your thermostat housing. So Danny's going to put some sealant on there now, and we'll drop that into place.
Alright.
The thermostat housing provided with your Barry Grant 6-shooter system is uniquely designed to fit directly into the front of this intake manifold. What makes the thermostat unique is it's actually low right here. Your normal thermostat housings have a hump in this area, and that would be in the way of the carburetor bowl. So this is a very unique system, not only the way it fits the intake, but also to clear your carburetor. At this point, we're ready to install our carburetors. These carburetors are uniquely designed to fit specifically in the right location on the manifold. In this situation, the middle carburetor has the electronic choke housing. The rear carburetor has your vacuum ports to run to your power brakes or to run to your distributor or any other vacuum accessories. And then your front carburetor is void of vacuum ports, and it's also void of the choke setting. So that way you know exactly where they set. Now when we set these down on the manifold, we're first going to check to make sure they don't rock back and forth, to make sure that there's nothing underneath them or anything that would bind. Remember to only finger tighten the carburetors in place until you get the fuel log installed. Now that our carburetors are installed on the manifold, we're going to move on to the throttle linkage portion. The throttle linkage includes a long rod and a short rod. And what we do is the long rod connects the front and the rear carburetor, and the short rod connects the middle carburetor linkage to the rest of the carburetors. And we attach the car's throttle line directly to the assembly.
Correct, Chris. And we also want to make sure when we install these to check them for any kind of binds, and also that when we install our carburetors, we use Loctite on all the nuts, front and rear and side and back.
Okay, and putting a Loctite on those throttle linkage nuts is going to keep them from backing off and the throttle falling off while we're running around. We also want to check and make sure that on the choke portion that it's off of the fast idle cam before we set all of our linkage in place. And once the linkage is on, we want to set the linkage down on the fast idle screw to where it's resting against it on all three carburetors.
That's correct. And then you want to hold it wide open one time just to make sure nothing is getting stuck. And also check your linkage when it's wide open. See if you can wiggle it around and move it around and make sure it's not in the bind at wide open, because you know what's going to happen if we get stuck wide open.
Now that we've gotten our fuel linkage assembled, we're going to check for final bind on wide open throttle from inside the car. We're looking to make sure that nothing's going to actually hold open or over push the throttle so that it doesn't bind the linkage. And we're good on that right now, so we're ready to move on to the fuel lines.
Let's do it.
Now the fuel log system on these carburetors, you have to deliver fuel to all three carburetors equally. And the way that's done in this situation is a series of tubes and banjo fittings with O-rings in between. So what we're doing next is we're actually setting the fuel log in place by assembling the banjo fittings and assembling the fuel log tubes in between. That's going to connect all three carburetors so that we can snug them down. We also have a washer seal that goes, a gasket seal that goes in between each banjo fitting up against each carburetor bowl. And finally at the front, we'll be connecting our fuel line directly to it. Now that the fuel log is installed, tighten the banjo fittings, go ahead and tighten the carburetors down and check for leaks. Our Barry Grant 6-shooter system is really looking mean now. We've got it set up on the motor and we're almost down to the home stretch. Now, our electric choke, what do we have to do to make that go?
We have to find a key ignition power source
Okay.
and just hook it to it. It's as simple as that.
All right, so we hook the ignition source to it and we ground the other side and our choke's ready to go.
That's correct.
Okay. Hey, Danny, how about that? She cranks up and runs right off the bat. Smooth, 14 degrees initial timing. I think we're ready to go burn some rubber. What do you think?
I think we'll check our float levels again. We're ready to go. We've done everything by the manual. Fired right up the first time.
Sounds good. I can't wait to take this thing out to the strip and find out what she'll do now.
Let's go.
We hope you've enjoyed our how-to Barry Grant 6-shooter carburetor install. Danny and I put this together right here in our garage with a couple of hand tools in a few hours this afternoon. The system came complete with everything we needed. A couple things to be aware of though. The system does not come with a thermostat, and that allows you to choose a thermostat of your choice for your driving conditions. And also, as you may have noticed, there's not a lot of room in the back for a large body distributor. So if your car is currently equipped with an HEI system, large body distributor, you're going to have to go to a small one. You have a variety of options there, including a nice aftermarket piece. You could use an original tack drive, as this old Corvette had, points type distributor. You could even convert one of your old distributors to an electronic one. As long as it's a small body, it'll fit in the back. But Danny, what do you think? How comprehensive do you think this kit was?
Chris, I think it's the most complete kit I've seen yet. We didn't have any trouble with anything putting it on. We actually didn't even have any questions. And I know this is my first time installing one. How about you?
Same here. It looks great. It runs great. I can't wait to go out and put some more miles on it.
That's right. Let's go.
All right.